Hey guys, welcome back to Wok Wednesday. I'm Jeremy from School of Wok, and this week we're doing one of the recipes from Ready Steady Cook, but with a little bit more time. I'm gonna make a steamed egg custard pudding with cherry jam. Don't forget, subscribe and hit that notification bell. So first things first, I'm gonna make a quick syrup. And this is for my actual egg dish, or my custard. And traditionally in Hong Kong, you get these sort of dessert houses that only actually serve different types of egg or milk steamed custards, and also this sort of steamed tofu, which is called dao fu fa. And so that's where this sort of base custard recipe comes from. I've just sort of westernized it a little with the cherry jam, and I'm going to put some chocolate and some biscuit on top as well, because I think, you know, it's nice to have different textures on this. 75 grams of caster sugar and about 5 tablespoons of water. As soon as the sugar is dissolved, I don't want this to become too syrupy. I'm just going to switch it off and then let it cool. So it literally takes about 30 seconds from the boil, and all that sugar is nicely dissolved. So that'll cool. In fact, I'll pour it into a jug and that'll cool quicker. Oh, lost half of it. So whilst that's cooling, I'm going to make the cherry jam, and I've got some seeded or pitted cherries. They're frozen, really easy to use. I'm going to pop those in on a medium heat. You can use the same pan, it's just a little bit of sugar syrup in there. I've got some soft brown sugar this time. Pop that in with the cherries, and then roughly sort of a tablespoon or so of lemon juice, half a lemon, that should do it. So it's not too sweet, you get a nice sort of tart, sweet sour jam. Bring that to a boil, allow it to bubble away until it gets to a nice sort of jammy texture. So onto the egg custard. In Cantonese tradition, you get savoury version of this and a sweet version. And also in those little dessert houses, you'd either have like just egg white or just milk custard, no egg. This one's got a couple of eggs, and then it's roughly, the mix is 50% egg, 25% milk, and 25% syrup. When you're beating your eggs, you are going to create these sort of air bubbles. But later on, we're going to want to get as many of those air bubbles out of the mix as possible. Got a little bit of vanilla extract here. My milk. And then just check your syrup isn't hot. Hot. And then you're going to add your syrup to this mix. So you want this to be as smooth as possible, because there's, in Cantonese language, there's a word that we use a lot when we're describing texture of food, and that is wah, which actually means like super melt in the mouth. It's kind of like that sort of panna cotta or creme brulee sort of texture that we're going for once it's steamed, where once you've sort of bitten into it, it just really melts into your mouth. Very satisfying eating feeling. I've got a lot of air bubbles in there. Now we want to get those air bubbles out. So there's a couple of different ways to do that. The first is just to pour it through a fine sieve. This won't get all the bubbles out, but it'll help to remove a few of them. And then the other way is to just use a pad of kitchen paper and literally manually take those excess bubbles out from the mix. So once you've got all the bubbles out, you can then just pour them into some nice glass ramekins. Stir their way up. Should be fine. We're going to steam these on a low heat You don't want it to take too long to steam through. Of course, you can make them as big as you want, and if you did them a lot deeper, then you'd want to steam them for longer. So those are going to go on to steam. If you have got any little air bubbles, just dab those out. So you want a low to medium heat for this, because if you over boil or you have your sort of too much steam and it's creating a lot of pressure inside there, then you'll start to get bubbles in your egg, and I want this to be as smooth as possible. Low heat, 10 minutes, check them. Now when you put under pressure, you know, to cook something quickly, your recipes have got to be simple. So the biscuits turned up in this recipe because they were in Ryland's pantry on Ready Steady Cook, but it works a treat. So I'm just going to lightly crush some digestives, get some icing sugar in there, give that a quick stir. Simple as that, easy. Grate some chocolate. Nice fine grate. Got nice dark chocolate here, 70%, so it goes well with the cherries. It's one of those desserts that you feel like you just need a sweet at the end of dinner. It's actually really easy to make. So my cherries are nice and done here. You can see they're kind of more like candied cherries than a cherry jam. Now if you wanted to make a quick jam out of that, proper jam, spreadable jam, then you could just blitz that in a food processor, but I kind of want to keep it this way, and they're going to have a lot of, or taken up a lot of that lemon juice and that sugar. It will work really nicely with the different textures that make up this dessert. So I'm just going to check my steamed egg puddings, and you can see that they are pretty much cooked through. There could be a little bit on the underside, but if you just, the best way to check is just to give it a little shake, and if it sort of wobbles like a jelly, then you're ready. As I said, you can overcook this, and you'll know, and it's almost like it could sit in here on a low steam for a longer period of time and not really overcook. But if I put the heat up to a high heat and covered it with a lid, then it would be steaming so fast that it would sort of bubble up the egg, and you don't want that at all because it then looks quite ugly. But this is kept nice and smooth for that wah, which is what I'm looking for. I actually cooked those for about 12 minutes in the end. So we've got a great smooth finish on this, and you could let these cool and have this dessert cold, but I quite like that sort of warm or hot melt in the mouth feeling of the steamed custard. So from here, it's just a compiling job. Get some of those candied cherries. You can see how soft that's going to be. And then some of your iced biscuits over the top of that. I mean, none of this is really that necessary, but it does add layers of texture and flavour to this. And it looks pretty too. And then a whole load of that lovely dark chocolate that will just work really well with the cherries, and it will sort of melt a little bit around the edges. So this is completely made up by me. Steamed egg custard puddings with a cherry jam, chocolate on top. Now, just looking at that, you know it's going to taste good. And the chocolate is just melted over the top. You can see the creaminess of that. Biscuit's still nice and crunchy. But as you mix it in as well, just sort of melt into it. It's sweet, but not too sweet. Got a good kick of that sour from the lemon. And the actual egg custard is perfectly wah. Hopefully I'm teaching you some Cantonese, the little Cantonese that I know, along the way. Now, if you have any really good, quick, like sweet fixed dessert recipes, let us know in the comments below, because I love this. I happily eat this every night or although probably not very good for me. And of course, as always, if you like this recipe, don't forget to subscribe. We're getting some great views at the moment. We want to get some more avid subscribers and followers, and hit that notification bell.